The great debate, rent versus buy. So rent versus buying. I think this is definitely the great debate. This is what everybody asks me, like, is it better to rent? Is it better to buy? And I feel like there are definitely pros and cons, depending on your situation. So Scott, we'll start with you, because you currently rent your place, right?
I rent my place here in Chicago, yes.
All right. What are some of the pros to renting?
For me, the biggest pro, especially for my lifestyle, is I'm single. I live downtown in the heart of the city.
You party hard.
My partying days are coming to an end. You know, but if I make it past 9:30 these days, it's, listen, I'm partying hard, right? But for me, you know, the fact that I can come and go as I please, if I want to leave out of town, if I want to go away for a few days, if I just going out during the day, I don't have to worry about maintenance. I don't have to worry about all the things that go on with home ownership. I leave, I come back, things are the way I left it. I'm not worried about security. I'm not worried about maintenance. I'm not worried about all the stuff that happens with owning a property. It's a very carefree and easy come and go lifestyle.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Like, I rented for a very long time in Chicago from, like 17 all the way to like 30. So I rented for a long time. Some of the pros for me is just that, like, it's things that you didn't have to think about. If there was a leak or something didn't work, like the heat didn't kick on, like, it's not my problem, right?
Right.
I'm gonna call somebody to fix it.
Exactly. I got a light out in the bathroom. I got the air conditioning's not working, what have you. Listen, I call the front desk, find the maintenance guy downstairs. Hey buddy, can you come upstairs and help me fix this? Like, I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to pay for the repairs myself, Nothing. You know, I go away during the winter. I'm not worried about pipes freezing. I'm not worried about the heat not working, all this stuff. And if there are issues, again, I just call the front desk or whomever and say, hey, can you help fix this? Like, you know, I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, that carefree type of feeling, I think, is great when it comes to renting. I think another pro that I like when I was renting, the ability to move wherever I wanted to.
Right.
I've lived all over the city, from the north side to the south side, and I've probably lived in maybe 9 or 10 neighborhoods by now.
Right.
And every neighborhood in the city provides something different.
Yep.
I've lived downtown, I've lived on the south side, I've lived in Rogers Park, and each one of those gives you a different feeling and allows you to kind of explore. And every year you can move, and every year I did for like 4 or 5 years, I just moved. And I think that's something that's, especially in a city like this, where there's so much to explore.
There's a lot of variety. Every neighborhood has something different to offer. Exactly. And if, you know, I've lived in Lincoln Park, I've lived in Old Town, I've lived in the Gold Coast, I've lived in River North, Streeterville, you name it, to where, same thing. If I lived in a place for a couple of years and I want to get a taste of a different neighborhood, pick up, I move, I go, you know, experience it, a year or two there, pick up, move, go ahead. So nothing's tying you down.
Yeah, no, I love that. So we'll talk about the cons of renting. Like, why would it be a bad idea to rent?
I think the biggest con, and I think all of us can agree, being in the real estate and mortgage industry, this arena, we understand that wealth is built upon owning real estate. If you own property, and the longer, you know, period of time that you own it, and the more properties that you own, again, these are all, over time, these are assets. These are tangible assets that you'll have to build wealth. If you rent, you don't have that. You don't own anything. You're not accumulating wealth at all. So that's one of the biggest cons to renting, is you don't have that.
I agree. Even though I rented for a long time, when I was ready to buy, I calculated how much I spent in rent over the years. Like, oh my God, I could have bought 2 places right now, like with the amount that I've spent. Granted, I did enjoy it at that time, but the minute, I'll tell clients this, the minute you start thinking about what am I paying for, it starts to calculate.
Right.
Like, wait, I'm still gonna pay a mortgage, just somebody else's. I'm not paying mine.
Well, exactly. You're paying somebody else's mortgage for that.
Yep.
You know, the other big benefit to owning is the tax ramification. So you own a place, you can write off property taxes up to $10,000. And also your mortgage payment, which is comprised of principal and interest, the mortgage interest is tax deductible as well. And as we all know, a lot of these loans, the way that they're structured, they're very front-loaded with interest. In the beginning years of your mortgage, most of that payment, good portion of that is majority going towards mortgage interest. And again, when you do your income taxes, these are things that you can write off and take advantage of from a tax perspective.
No. And with renting, you don't You don't
get any of
that.
that, right.
You don't get any of that.
Nothing.
I think the other negative to renting is you can't really make changes to the place.
Right.
Like if you need a new microwave and they don't want to give you a new microwave, like that's kind of like where you're at. If you want the new fancy refrigerator and you can't make any changes, you can with some things, like maybe you could paint a wall, but when you leave, you probably have to paint that back or you lose your deposit or you're paying $200 because you painted a wall.
Right. You want wood floors instead of whatever they give you? Too bad. You can't do it, right?
Yep. I think that's the thing with rentals, that it all depends on where you're at in life too, and maybe the kind of person you are, because 10 years ago, that things would never cross my mind. Never was like, I'm gonna get wood floors. Like, I didn't care. Right. And at some point, you want the finer things in life.
Well,
I want stainless steel appliances. Right. I want wood floors. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like I'm a big shower guy, right?
Yeah.
So I obviously like having one of those showers with the rain locker type shower and multiple shower heads and everything. It's, I love having that as an experience. But when you rent, you got what they give you and that's it, man. It's
the amount of times I've bought like those little dinky shower heads from Home Depot, and now it's like, I redid my bathroom and it probably took maybe 3 months to find the right shower head. It's ridiculous. I went to like 7 different places, ordered like 10 things on Home Depot, returned 9 of them. I was like, what am I doing? Because at some point, it matters.
It's a big difference.
So when it comes to buying a place, what are some of the pros? And I'll start with this one. Like for me, I think the biggest pro is you're going to be building wealth.
Correct.
Something that you mentioned earlier, you'll probably mention again, is when you're renting, you don't have that luxury of giving your money away to someone else. Like, yes, you're paying to live there, but also it's not going towards anything except that person's equity in that person's pocket. And when you're buying and when you own a place, it comes back to you. And yes, interest is front loaded in a lot of these mortgages, but you own a place 10, 15, 20, 30 years, it becomes yours. With real estate, the assumption is it appreciates in value too as well.
Right.
So like it doesn't always go as fast as you want it, or there's dips like a stock. But a house that you own now, 20 years from now, man, 9 times out of 10, it's probably worth more than when you originally bought it for.
If you look over time on your average home that anywhere in the United States, the median average keeps increasing over time. Obviously, individual markets, they have their own kind of nuances that some markets are spiral as far as moving up in price and appreciating at a lot faster level. But a lot of those markets where things appreciate at a faster level, a lot of those markets also, things can come down at a much faster level versus I feel like here in the Chicago market, we might not see these crazy appreciation levels that you see in Florida and parts of Texas and California and Arizona. But at the same time, I think we have a much more stable market, very high levels of appreciation, but we don't see the market crashing either.
Yeah.
So you have stability here in the Chicagoland area.
I think that's so unique for this city too, as well as I feel like it's one of the most diverse and unique real estate markets where you can live anywhere at any price, but also it's hard to be priced out of most of the neighborhood. You can find a 1-bedroom you can afford in Lincoln Park. You're not gonna like it, but you can find a 1-bedroom. But like you go to New York or like San Francisco, like people from New York live in New Jersey. People in San Francisco live in Sacramento.
Right.
Like they travel an hour and a half to get to work because it's so expensive to live there.
And what you would see, just for example, let's say a place here in Chicago, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, call it on the north side that, or even down like in downtown, maybe that's $450 here. That same place in New York is gonna be $1 million and a half.
$1 million easy.
Like
easy.
It's bananas.
Easy. Like this is one of the best, I would say, real estate markets. First-time home buyers, for people even who want to stay for a long time, for those who want to be more transient, because you can move in this city very quickly and every neighborhood offers something different. And in 3 years, it's not like you're going to be priced out of the next neighborhood you want to be in.
Correct.
So you're not getting locked in like, oh, I have to live here because I can't live anywhere else.
Right. And I think one of the other key benefits to at least owning in Chicago is, especially because this city is such a rent-heavy city. It is one of the biggest cities in the United States, and it's a major hub for people for employment, and especially people that did not grow up here. So people are coming from all over the country, to where if you own a property now, let's say you do want to move to Florida down the road, or you want to move, or you get transferred from work to wherever, this is the type of city where you can, instead of selling your place, keep it, rent it, continue to have that appreciation level and build equity and build wealth. And in the meantime, you'll have somebody else paying your mortgage for you, and you're not going to have an issue renting it. There's so many people coming into the city constantly that need shelter, that need living space, that are going to rent.
Yeah.
So you won't have an issue as far as potential vacancy.
Something you said earlier about we don't have a market that appreciates a ton and comes down a ton. It's the same as Boise, Idaho was one of the fastest appreciation markets.
Right.
I'm sorry, I guarantee in 15 years, no one's gonna want to live in Boise, Idaho. I'm sorry,
right.
You're not gonna be able to rent your place that you overpaid for there. Where here, let's say you found a home of your dreams, and let's say you paid a little bit more than you wanted to. You probably have an opportunity in this city to rent it out and ride that out. Ride out what you overpaid for it until it makes sense.
Yeah.
And in some other cities, you might not have that. Arizona might be coming back down. Florida might be coming back down. Or they will have bigger fluctuations, where Chicago might have smaller ones, but goes up a little bit higher.
Right. One of the pros that I mentioned about renting being that from a maintenance standpoint, that I don't have to worry or take care of, the maintenance myself. As far as a condo buying, that could be a negative, meaning that you've got all this maintenance to take care of your place. If you own a single family home, you got to keep up the lawn and you've got the roof,
any
and
water
the gutters,
intrusions.
and
God, I didn't clean my gutters.
Right.
I cleaned my gutters.
Right.
God damn, I didn't clean my gutters this year.
You've got all that, and then internally, again, you got heating and cooling and your windows and condensation and mold and all this stuff that comes with it. If you have an attic, if you have a basement.
I have all those.
Right. So we forget that there's a lot of upkeep.
The thing about the upkeep, it is upkeep on things that you have no idea what it is. You don't know who to call. You've never heard it before. You've never seen it before. The last place we had was a condo, and everything that went wrong was a little annoying. But when you have a condo, because you have the HOA and it's inside of a building, the building is concerned with everything working. So if there was a leak in the pipe, like someone got on it, you still had to pay, but it got fixed. It was still annoying. It was a special assessment here and there. But in a single family home, there's no governing body. Like it's you. And I have, my OCD is so insane right now. My paranoia in my house, my single family house, it's to levels that I am not comfortable with. It's bad. Like every time it rains, there's a tick. I know it's a leak. And I'm like standing in the middle of my bedroom like this. My wife is like, what are you doing? I was like, something is leaking. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is. Like, can't you hear it? And one day we're gonna open up something and it's in the attic and there's no space to get into the attic. So I have no idea what's up there. And every time it rains. The other day I was cleaning out the basement and I saw like a condensation wet spot. And it was where I had like my exercise mats. And I was like, okay, is this condensation from the exercise mats?
Right. Or is it from,
Is it water coming up? So guess what I do every time it rains? I go down to the basement and I stand by that spot and I stare at it. Like, is it getting wet? Is it not? Like my paranoia has gone through the roof and all those things. I feel like the back steps, the floor is a little bit lower than it was before. Like, it's nuts. There's a lot. The thing is though, if you buy this $400,000 home and you want it to be worth $500,000 down the line, you have to take care of it. So that there's certain things that happen, you're like, okay, I have to figure out what this is. The worst thing I see is when I'm listing someone's home or selling it for them, and not only have they done nothing, they've done no maintenance.
Right, they've neglected the home completely.
They've just neglected it. Okay, You didn't paint, I get that. But you haven't changed this filter since you moved in.
Right.
You haven't addressed the leak on the window, like you've neglected it.
Right.
And that is what is gonna cause you to sell your home for less. But I do understand that. Like there's a lot of stuff when it comes to maintenance, and especially with a single family home that people aren't used to. And even with the condo, just having furnaces and HVACs and windows and all those things.
And that's kind of where it goes back to the pros and cons, rent to own, another, obviously, one of the biggest components of what's right is just your lifestyle. Yeah. Obviously, there's financial aspects to building wealth and owning a place and the tax perspectives and all that stuff. And, if you're rent, you don't have any of the financial benefits of that. But then it comes to lifestyle, right? So it's
How do you want to spend your weekend?
Right. How do you want to spend your weekend? How do you want to spend your life?
Oh, and a little kid stole my package off my front porch because there's no doorman there. He actually rang the doorbell, said something into the doorbell, and took it. I was like, you a bad dude. You a bad dude, man.
Your weekend sounds a lot different than what my weekend consists
I feel like I'm the Griswolds. I feel like I'm that guy. That Christmas, I was like hanging up lights on the ladder, and my neighbor was like, "Be careful up there." I was like, "What has my life turned into? Like, what am I? I'm hanging Christmas lights. Like, oh my God."
Uncle Eddie.
Hey, that's who I am.
It's a shitter's fault.
Lord.